Of the world, welcome to Send It Rising Live, the cringiest show on the internet. The main story today is Twitter partnering with the S&P 500 on stock index that crowdsources public opinion. We're also going to be talking about Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg donating $4 million bucks, a Facebook data center that was the target of hate speech, and it's shutting down, and why an employee there is upset about it. There's more hate speech happening in Myanmar. We're going to chat about that a bit. Twitter rolling out a disappearing tweet fix, Google issuing a warning for 2 billion Chrome users, and lastly, Google to pay $600 million fine. But the main story of the day, again, is Twitter partnering with the S&P 500. All links to all articles that we're going to go over are right there in the description. CNET.com is where this one comes from. The S&P 500 Twitter Sentiment Index is going to monitor tweets to score public sentiment about publicly traded companies. So I know someone who made a few $1,000,000 on Wall Street. He was a VP. And if you if you listen to Warren Buffett or any of these people, I mean, they take pride in saying that we have the same information as everyone else, right? We got the same information. We read the newspaper, unless we're talking, of course, about insider trading. But the idea is that they have the same information as the public has, and they're making stock decisions based on that. Getting ahead of the curve with things like this, with this partnership with Twitter, is one of the ways that you can make a bunch of money in the market. Quote, Twitter is teaming up with the S&P Dow Jones indices to give investors a broader view of opinions about companies they may be considering investing in. The S&P 500 Twitter Sentiment Index launched on Thursday. So, if you're a big stock person, this is a big deal. Quote, social media is impacting the way information is being conveyed to investors, says Peter Rothman, S&P Dow Jones Indices Global Head of Innovation and Strategy. That's a fancy way of saying rich. So, I mean, crypto is a big deal. Like I mentioned before, I know someone who just made $1 million in crypto off of like a $20,000 investment. It's crazy. So that's big. Crypto, the new stadium in LA is no longer going to be the Staples Center. It's going to be the Crypto Arena, I'm told. And that just goes to show you, Staples. Who cares about Staples? It used to be a big deal. Staples was everything. I mean, every business was swinging by Staples. That ain't the reality any longer. So as things change, so do the partnerships. So Twitter and S&P 500. The other thing too is I can see how this would affect Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, etc. When they see partnerships like this, they realize that is an opportunity. They may not be first to market, but they simply are going to be thinking about it a bit more than they have in the past. So if you are interested in making money in the stock market, this is a pretty big deal. In terms of getting a sense, there's going to be something called a Z-score that reflects the sentiment around each company. How accurate will it be? I don't know. Twitter is only a segment of the population, so it's like anything in investing. Invest carefully. Additionally, Facebook CEO and wife donate $4 million to protect Kauai's largest fish pond. Okay. Oh, $4 million. That would be nice. Honolulu, the largest remaining fish pond in Kauai, according to HawaiiNewsNow.com, is now protected indefinitely after receiving a $4 million donation from Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg and his wife Priscilla Chan. The 600-year-old Alakoko fish pond, also known as Menenehune fish pond, is located just outside Lihue. It is home to native fish and other things. So there was a nonprofit that was dealing with it. And I don't know. I struggle with cynicism as I get older. I don't know if you do too. But every time Facebook does something like this, I think to myself, this is just PR. Also, there's a lot of homeless people out there. There's a lot of people struggling with a lot of things. And so $4 million to protect a fish pond. I don't know. He can do whatever he wants. It's his money, right? But how would $1 million change your life? You know what I'm saying? Oof. I don't know. Is it just PR? What do you think? YouTube.com/Send It Rising. Leave a comment. Do you think it's just PR, or do you think there's some beauty behind what Zuckerberg and his wife are doing? I mean, preserving a large fish pond is a nice thing to do. There's certainly no question about that. And I would rather him spend $4 million on that than $4 million on, say, a yacht. So that makes sense. Facebook data center worker criticizes decision to shut down site over hate messages. This comes from KUTV.com. Eagle Mountain, Utah. A construction worker at the sprawling new Facebook data center in Eagle Mountain called racist graffiti at the job site the work of a, quote, deranged idiot, but also criticized the decision to shut down the project for more than 2 days in response to the offensive message. So a data center is, no small task, and someone can just roll up and paint a little bit of horrifying graffiti on it. And all of a sudden, these guys aren't working for a couple days, or they have to go to some other project. That seems silly to me. I don't know. People have a lot more power than they think they do. If someone wants to mess something up, it's not that hard to throw a monkey wrench in the gears. So don't do that, people. And the other thing too, every time I criticize Facebook, because there's plenty to criticize, I think to myself I think about all of the people that are associated with the company, scrolling all the way down to this particular gentleman in Utah who's like, yeah, bro, I'm a construction worker, man. I'm building stuff. Like, what does hate speech on Facebook have anything to do with me? And yet it does. I'm reminded of Frances Haugen's whistleblower testimony and the subsequent lawsuit. I forget which state of Ohio, perhaps, suing them for some ludicrous sum of money. I think it was like 600 billion or something crazy. Anyway, just goes to show, man, we are all interconnected. Yes, we are. Can y'all hear me? Yeah, I have done this show before where no one can hear me, and let me tell you, not my favorite thing to do. So anyway, Facebook donating $400 million to a preserve, and some dude, not being able to work for a couple days. It's all interconnected. So he agreed the message found on the wall was hateful and threatening, but also said Mortensen Construction's 2+ day project pause punishes more than 1,500 workers. Not wild. Some idiot, shows up and scrolls something because he or she is suffering so much that they can't take it anymore, and all of a sudden 1,500 people aren't working for a couple days. Crazy. Violent hate speech continues to thrive on Facebook in Myanmar, according to an AP report. Jakarta, Indonesia, years after coming under scrutiny, according to CBSNews.com, for contributing to ethnic and religious violence in Myanmar, Facebook still has problems detecting and moderating hate speech and misinformation on its platform. So, Frances Haugen shows that there's a lot of garbage that makes its way through Facebook. And then you've got this volatile history in Myanmar. Myanmar, by the way, has had decades of censorship under military rule. And it was only connected to the internet in 2000. Facebook, got into the country at that point. Turns out that it became a, quote, hotbed for extremism. There are religious riots across Myanmar between Buddhists and Muslims. And, if you're going to have a conflict zone, they're going to use the methods of communication. So they're putting up photos, they're connecting with people. It's just wild. Quote, hate speech is a very specific language. It's hard to do it without people who speak the local language, and we need to ramp up our effort there dramatically, said Zuckerberg. So that is a good point. I didn't think about that. I mean, if you do not speak the language of the country, it is going to be very, very difficult to police that. I mean, at what point do you just say, you know what, we're not going to offer it in this country until we get a hold on it? I guess that's my big question, right? Is if social media is being used to weaponize and kill people in horrifying situations in countries where you don't necessarily speak the language. I mean, don't you have an ethical incentive to stop doing that? I don't get it. What do you think? Do you think Facebook should just shut it down? Or should they go hire a bunch of people? I mean, that's the other thing too. If you can donate $4 million to save a pond in Hawaii, don't you think you can go into a war zone and, I don't know, this is my criticism. There it is. We found it. That's a nice pond you got there in Hawaii. Meanwhile, can't you bring, I don't know, 1,000 people? Can't you employ 4,000 people in Myanmar to address the specific concern with that $4 million? Doesn't that solve the problem? So it just feels like misspent resources to me. Am I wrong? Let me know. YouTube.com/SendItRising. Twitter begins rollout of disappearing tweets fix. On the web client, you'll see a new tweet counter. This is from Engadget.com. At the end of September, Twitter said it would address a long-standing complaint. If you use the service frequently, you may have noticed tweets sometimes disappear from view just as you're partway through reading one, which is ridiculous. At the time, the company said it had several updates planned to address the problem, and the first of those is now available through the platform's web client. If I have a large social media company, one of the things that I would want to get right is reading the content. That seems like a pretty big deal. So apparently they're fixing it. We shall see. Forbes.com. Google issues warning for 2 billion Chrome users. Chrome users beware. Attacks on Google's browser are increasing rapidly, and now multiple new hacks have been confirmed. This is not the first time we've covered hacks on the browser. Google published the news in a new blog post where it revealed an eye-popping 25 new vulnerabilities have been discovered. It rates 7 of them as high. Not good. Linux, macOS, and Windows users are all affected. So if you got Chrome, which I do, you want to go ahead and hit the update button because they are trying to take all of your money. I mean, they're trying to do stuff like steal your bank password. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, this is not a small thing. The attacks follow a similar pattern with use after free exploits, once more making up the majority of attacks. So they find ways to do this. They're saying Google's released a major new update. It is version, get this, 96.0.4664.45. They say that the rollout will be coming in the next couple of days or weeks, so you may not be able to protect yourself immediately. This came out on November 17th, so this is up to date. Yikes. Google to pay AFP for news content after getting slammed with nearly a $600 million fine. Google has agreed to pay Agence France Presse, so the French press agency, for news content following a nasty legal and regulatory battle that saw the tech giant fined nearly $600 million. That is wild. In case you're wondering why I'm yawning so much, I think it's this tea I'm drinking. It's giving me those chill vibes. It is delicious, though, I'm not going to lie. The deal comes after years of complaints around the world about Google and Facebook using stories in search results without paying them. Some advertisers that used to support newspapers and magazines have also increasingly gravitated towards the tech giants. Yeah, duh. Forcing many media organizations to scale back coverage and lay off journalists, clearly. Google and the AFP, a Paris-based news agency with bureaus around the world, both declined to disclose the value of the deal, but it's insane. So yeah, I mean, if you're just gonna take, I don't know, people's content and just repurpose it and make money off of it, doesn't seem too ethical to me. Perhaps you disagree. Tell me if you do. I'd love to hear your voice. Love to hear your voice on the show, youtube.com/Send It Rising at 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time or after the fact. Either way is cool with me. I've been making some songs on TikTok. If you want to cringe so hard that you feel like you might die, just go to at Send It Rising on TikTok. Also, one of my coworkers made a video where she traveled to Italy. So you can see the whole trip in her TikTok, which is the most recent TikTok post, if that's your thing. At Send It Rising on TikTok. Let's recap the news. Twitter partners with the S&P 500. Could be very interesting. Could be quite a good way to gather information about public sentiment on a given stock. Facebook CEO, wife donate $4 million to protect Kauai's largest fish pond. Meanwhile, people are dying in Myanmar, and they can't, quote, hire enough people to solve that problem. Explain that one to me. Facebook data center worker criticizes decision to shut down site over hate messages. Yeah, I get it. It's bad, but someone graffitis something on a wall and all of a sudden 1,500 people aren't working for 2 days. Doesn't make sense. Violent hate speech continues to thrive in Facebook on Myanmar. Yeah, we know that. So fix it, Facebook. Twitter begins rollout of disappearing tweets fix. Yeah, you might want to figure out your social media platform if you want to have users there. And Google issues a warning for 2 billion Chrome users. If you do use Chrome, and let's face it, you probably do, update that as soon as possible. And finally, Google paying $600 million, apparently nearly 600 million. I think it's 593 million, because they were taking journalists' news articles and not compensating them, which is not okay. I hope you're having the best day of your life ever. And I hope that your life is exactly what you want it to be. If you're in a dark place, I hope that the light shines upon you soon. If you are in a bright place, I hope that you recognize it. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the show for today. Love you. Proud of you. Thanks for swinging on by. Talk to you next time. Bye for now.